Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I deliver you a tale of obsession and murder. Today I bring you The Loveless Doll. Chapter 1. First Incision. It was a hot sunny day in the middle of June. The suburbs echoed with the laughter of playing children, and in the distance the faint sound of an ice cream truck could be heard. This filled the children with glee. The same could not be said for Dugan. He hated driving his truck, especially around the filthy rich suburban areas. But it paid his rent. This one street in particular, Dugan almost refused to drive down. All those former classmates more successful than him in every way. He barely even recognized him, despite his distinctive appearance. Dugan was a large man, fat but quite strong too. Only an orange tuft remained of Dugan's hair after years of childhood bullies pulling at it. Dugan took a deep breath. "You can do this, Dugan," he muttered to himself as he pressed his foot on the accelerator. The ice cream truck ground to a halt as it approached the most densely populated area of the street. Children started to crowd around the hatch, all of them speaking at once, asking for different flavors, shapes, and sizes. "One at a time, please," Dugan started to exclaim, but as he spoke he realized shouting would only drive customers away. "One at a time, please," he calmly repeated. "Can I have mint chocolate with strawberry sprinkles?" requested a young girl close to the front of the almost queue. "Of course you can," said Dugan as he turned to make the ice cream. Dugan turned and glanced at that house, the house he had so far refused to look at. And there she was, as pretty as the day he first saw her. Her name was Sarah Loveless. Her father made the whole family change their surnames as part of a business deal. As you can imagine, her family was rich, which made her popular. Dugan started to stare as his mind filled with flashbacks of high school and the day he'd finally built up enough courage to ask her on a date. He remembers shaking as the sweat dripped down his rounded face, constantly daring himself to take the next step. She locked eyes on him for a second, which made his heart pound. Dugan stuttered as her boyfriend linked arms with her, and they both walked away. The thought of them now happily married, with the stability of a decent income, sickened Dugan. "That should have been me," Dugan said under his breath. This temporary distraction caused Dugan to forget the order of mint chocolate with strawberry sprinkles, and instead give the girls strawberry ice cream with chocolate sprinkles. "That's not what I asked for, and I'm not paying for that," said the little girl as she took the ice cream and skipped away. "Little bitch," Dugan whispered under his breath. As he whispered, there was a crash of thunder and a gust of wind as the dark cloud dropped in. The crowd dispersed as the rain started to hammer down. Dugan slammed the hatch shut and sat back in the driver's seat. "Bastard," he exclaimed as he tried to start the engine. "Come on, start!" The engine failed. His only option was to get out and push all the way to the city, which wasn't all that far, but when you're pushing an ice cream truck in the rain, it seems like an endless journey. Dugan sighed to himself as he stepped out into the rain. He pushed and pushed with all his might. "Got to get back home," he grunted. He had hoped that someone in the street would show some decency and give him some help. His mind wandered again and fantasized about Sarah calling out to him. "Come inside," she would say, "at least until the rain stops," and Dugan would be powerless to resist as she sat him down on her fancy sofa and bought him cookie after cookie. But this was of course best case scenario for him. At the very least he hoped somebody would help give him a hand pushing his truck, but this was not Dugan's lucky day, and no one came to his aid. Dugan arrived home some hours later, tired, wet, and penniless. He opened the heavy wooden door to the main stairwell of his run-down apartment block, and was glad to be out of the rain. The stairs creaked as he climbed them one by one, leaving a trail of muddy footprints behind him. He approached his apartment, and to his dismay there was an eviction notice on his door giving him 7 days to pay rent or vacate the premises. Dugan ripped it off the door as he turned the handle and entered the apartment. To say his home was a mess would not do it justice. It was a shit tip. A half-eaten mouldy pie rested on the arm of his armchair, which exhibited many coffee stains and cigarette burns. And on the floor lay a duvet, because he could not get into the bedroom to sleep for all of the mess. Dugan sat in his chair and breathed a sigh of some relief and reached for the tally to turn it on. Dugan's tally was not a top-of-the-range fancy plasma screen tally. His was an old black and white tally which he had inherited from his late grandparents. He leaned forward to turn the knob to select his favourite TV show. The television fuzzed, and there it was. And now, prepare to be terrified. Dugan could not resist a good horror movie, and his tally was his most prized possession. He would spend most nights engrossed in some horror flick. Dugan reached for his pack of cigarettes and pulled a match from his pocket. And then just as he'd taken his first drag, there it was, thud, thud, thud on his door. On edge from the horror movie in which he was engrossed, he approached the door with caution. Before he could reach the door, there was another thud, thud, thud. His heart raced as he opened the door. He was partially relieved to find that it was his landlord and not the monster from the horror flick. Although part of him would have preferred the monster, his landlord was a short, round, elderly man who always wore a smart leather jacket, but due to his height, or lack thereof, the jacket often dragged on the floor behind. Gripped tightly within his left hand, as if to protect it from theft, was an ivory cane. The landlord seldom let it out of his sight. To him, it was a sign of his power, and with it he would be the landlord of his kingdom. Most of the residents knew when he was coming, as his arrival was always preceded by the distinctive tap-tap scuff as he dragged himself through the decaying corridors. Dugan had always felt uncomfortable at the sight of his landlord. "Dugan," the landlord shouted, "do you mind telling me what this is?" Dugan stood speechless as his landlord tapped his cane emphatically. "All these muddy footprints leading to your door," said the landlord as he pressed his finger firmly onto Dugan's chest. "Well then, are you going to take a look? It's your mess." Dugan leaned out of the door to take a look at the footprints. "There's no smoking in my stairwell," the landlord exclaimed. Dugan went back inside his apartment to extinguish his cigarette, not expecting his landlord to follow. "Oh, for fuck's sake," the landlord sighed. "You can clean up this mess before you go, and I'm confiscating your tally just to motivate you that little bit more." Dugan really wanted to hurt the old man as the anger swelled inside. He wanted him to feel small, he wanted him to feel fear, and most of all, powerless. It was how Dugan had felt for most of his life. Grabbing the landlord firmly by the collar, he threw him to the floor, and then grabbing the cane, struck a single blow to the chest, leaving the old man writhing on the floor. Dugan watched as his landlord died moments later.